Hey gang, this is me, Mr Motivator, and I feel so good. And I'm here on Saga Spaces to make you feel inspired, to make you feel good, and to make you go, oh yeah, I love it.
Hello there and welcome along to Saga Spaces, your brand new online community, a space where you can attend fun, informative classes, read insightful articles and soak up new and enriching information from our experts, all from the comfort of your own home, tailored specifically with you in mind. I'm Gavin Ramshaw, your presenter for this afternoon's fully interactive fireside chat, and I'm thrilled and very excited to bring you a household name today who's been getting us up and moving since the 90s, bringing us joy to the British public with psychedelic gymwear, and of course, that incredible energy. It is, of course, Derrick Evans, Mr Motivator. Thrilled to speak to you today, Derrick. Thank you very much indeed for being on. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well, but the speed you were speaking at then, I'm still only on word 2.
This is it. Do you know something? It's all about the energy, and that's what you're all about, aren't you? You know, you're Mr Energy, Mr Motivator. You've been known for that for so many years. For yourself, how is it, being known as that moniker, Mr. Motivator?
Well, the thing is, I think in life, right, what happens with all of us is we make decisions that lead us down certain routes. And I'm so far removed from anything I thought I'd be doing when I left school, because I'll always remember the headmaster and the teacher, my form teacher, saying, listen, Evans, all you're ever going to be good for is to work in an office. And initially he was right. But here I am actually in kind of I call it the height of my life. Right, the most important years, and I feel so full of energy purely because the decision I made to go into health and well-being was such a positive and really rewarding industry to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And for yourself, you've been in this game for such a long time. You're almost like, I guess, the pioneer of what we now see as online fitness, the wellness trends of fitness motivators and fitness influencers online. Would you say that is something that you reckon that a lot of people have taken, inspiration from your work?
Well, hopefully, yes, because I get so many letters. In fact, only this morning I was doing a live on TikTok, and a number of people wrote in and said, listen, because of you, right, I became a fitness instructor. And I think for all of us, those are the words that we want to hear people say. We want people to go, because of you, I made that decision. Because of you, I turned right. Because of you, I chose that thing in my life. And I think if I can get that coming back to me all the while, when I ask the question, what motivates me? That's what motivates me, because what it means is that you are creating the footsteps for others to follow, but you're also setting a trend. And they say in a world full of trends, try and be a classic, because people will always want to follow the classics.
So, yourself as being into fitness as a niche, as an exercise as like, a passion of yours. Where would you say it all began for you? Where did you find that inspiration? When did you know you had it effectively?
Well, I think, as I said, for all of us, I think what happens is we make decisions about the directions we're going to go, often because of necessity. For me, it was all to do with, I was a single parent at age 22. So I'm looking after my daughter on my own, and it meant I had to take on whatever job I could find to put food on the table. And the difficulty for a man going back to 1972, right, looking after a daughter on his own was actually, it was crazy. It was tough. It was, for me, it was the best thing that happened to me because it put control on my life. And it meant I had to, first of all, think, how do I make us both survive? And there were times when it was really tough, when we were outside the homeless family unit trying to find a place to stay or get food. And so initially, right, while she was growing up, everything I did was about the necessity to look after her. But then in 1983, I happened to wander into a leisure centre in Harrow, and I saw people, I heard a noise from down the corridor, and I heard people making all this noise. I looked through the window, and there were all these women doing what I now know to be called pop mobility. That's where a track of music came on, and they followed it. And I was transfixed, Gavin. For me, that was like an eye-opener. Everybody talks about the light bulb moment. For me, it was a light bulb moment, and I didn't know how it was going to change my life, but all I knew is I wanted some more of that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that really is. And I think for a lot of people, finding their purpose at that point, it's such an important thing, isn't it? And that purpose for you, that must have given you the spirit and the energy and the drive to do what you did.
Well, I think, everything in life is timing. There's a moment in all our lives, right, when all the elements collide. Michael Jackson, it was all to do with Thriller. Everything collided at that moment. And even though he tried and his music was good afterwards, it was never as good as that moment. For me, there was 10 years of trying to get television broadcasters to accept me as a man doing fitness because they put every obstacles in the way. But for me, obstacles are what you see when you take your eyes off your goal. So my goal was I wanted to actually transform what I saw as fitness being done on television, but doing it in a way in which people would want to, even if it's only tap your feet to the music, you'd want to do it. But it was a kind of initially a marketing exercise of me trying to get accepted in a world where in fact they did not want to see a black man doing fitness. They didn't feel a black man on television doing fitness would be right. The advertisers didn't want it, but that didn't put me off. In fact, the fuel that keeps me going is tell me no.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I totally hear that. I get what you're saying 100%. And from those obstacles from back then when you were fighting to be on, fighting to do what you wanted to do, was there ever a point for yourself where you thought, maybe this isn't the right track, maybe this isn't the right path? What was it that kept you going effectively?
I tell you what it is. I think it's important for all of us to have different pillows. So if one pillow falls away, you've got something to fall back on. Right. So I've always had more than one thing I was doing at the same time. So whilst I was pursuing the fitness and the health and trying to win people over, I was also working on a building site. I had my own team of builders and we were doing conversions. And on top of that, right, I was also selling costume jewelry and all those things. But the one passion I found and the one thing that brought me joy, and I didn't fully understand why, because there weren't many books around that taught you about fitness and well-being. Because the very first book that came out back in the 70s, back in the 80s, was by a chap called Dr. Cooper, who wrote about aerobics. And that was a new term. No one knew about it. There were no qualifications to be had. But I immersed myself in the subject matter so much that every single breathing moment and living moment was spent on trying to ensure that I became the best at what I was able to do. Because Martin Luther King said it. He said, listen, if you want to be a dustman, be the best dustman there is. Don't sell yourself short. So I wanted to know so much that people wouldn't throw stones at me. They would, in fact, embrace me rather than critiquing what I would do. They'd go, guess what? That makes me feel good. And Maya Angelou said it. And I embraced this and took this from day one. She said, people may forget what you say sometimes. They may forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you make them feel. And with me, everything to do with well-being was how am I going to make you feel? And once I got given the platform to be on, then that opened up the doors. And that's what we all need to do, is get to that point where you got the key to the door. And the key to the door for me was that fitness. And once I got in, to make sure to stay there, you then had to be the best that you can be. And that way, people stand up and they take notice and they want more of you and they keep you going. Because don't forget, Gavin, this month, in fact, next week, 30 years ago, I started on GMTV.
No way, 30 years ago. Goodness me. I did a bit of GMTV back in the day actually as well. But I have to say, I remember you very, very vividly from when you were on. You had an extremely strong brand. Going back to what you're saying there about how to make people feel. I really think that's an interesting aspect of standing out there, what you touched on in terms of how you pushed through, what made you continue with that drive and continue to push to do more fitness and to do what you do on TV. How important would you rank having a brand that stands out, in terms of today's modern world?
Well, listen, it's a responsibility because you can spend 30 years developing a brand and in 10 seconds it can be destroyed. So you can imagine, right, listen, all the people who give me work till this day are people who grew up with me. They're children where the parents put them in front of the TV when I was on. There were kids who were late to school because they were actually watching me on television. Now, I didn't conjure that up. I don't know where it came from. And my son, who's really into this kind of headspace where he's analyzing everything, he said to me, Dad, don't analyze what makes you tick. In fact, don't even watch yourself. I don't like watching myself on television. He said, because you may see something you don't like, you want to change it, but you may change the very essence of why people like you, right? So for me, it was actually working hard, being considerate and kind, And then I believe amazing things will happen in your life. Let me say it again. Work hard, be considerate, be kind, and amazing things will happen. And have an amazing time. I've met people I never thought I'd ever meet. I've been able to influence, prime ministers and sit and talk with them and have a cup of tea. I used to go around to Gordon Brown when he was at number 10, and I used to be in the garden with his children talking about fitness or getting them to do fitness. Who would have thought that someone who was running around barefooted in Jamaica back in 1953, who was homeless for a while, who had all the difficulties of being a single parent, right, who shared bed and breakfast where there was 5 families sharing the same kitchen, who would have thought that I'd be where I am today? And the reason why it works for all of us is that you must never ever quit. Just when you're faced with that mountain in front of you, remember, when you get to the top of that mountain, the view is incredible. And so to everyone listening now, it doesn't matter what age you are, there's still a new horizon that's available to you. You should be getting older and picking up speed. You should not be getting older and heading to the grave. Wrong. I believe at 70 years of age, I want to be an example to every single older person out there and tell them that every day you get up is a blessing. Every day you stand up and look in that mirror, you should be proud of who you see. You should never let the negativity of others bring you down. Don't put your happiness in someone else's pocket. Be the person that is a real example. That way your grandkids go, oh, granddad, you're so brilliant. Your kids turn around and go, you know what? I want to be like you. Other people see you and they go, yeah, I want some of what you've got. People are always asking me, what the hell are you on? I tell them I'm on 2 drugs. I'm on endorphins and I'm on serotonin. And that only comes from when you move your body. That drug gets released and guess what? You're on an almighty high forever.
Love that. I'm glad you said endorphins and serotonin there. Derrick, you mentioned there about growing up in Jamaica and how hard it was for you when you were younger. What was that upbringing like for you in terms of how you are today now? How has that tough upbringing helped you get to where you are?
The foundation stone for who we are begins way back then. Begins way back then when your nappy was getting changed. Now, I was given away at 3 months of age. So the person or the family that brought me up were not my biological parents. But they were very religious, right? And, you went to church almost every day. On Sunday, it was total church. Every meal, you said your grace. Every night before you go to bed, you say your prayers. They put me into the boys' brigade. The boys' brigade was so important for me because, again, their motto is sure and steadfast. Right? And the religious undertone of the Boys Brigade was really important to me. And it gave me the standards, it gave me the guidelines, it gave me the kind of elements that I needed for myself that I could pass on to my children. That's why I get disappointed if my children let me down in any way, because I believe that I've been an example to them. So those early years, right, in terms of religious background and all those things, till this day are still with me. One element, for example, which I love to mention is the fact that I love cooking. My wife and I have been together for 33 years, right? She doesn't cook. I cook, and I love it. But if you come into my home and I'm around the table eating, I cannot continue to eat unless you sit down and have something off my plate. And I've never been able to get rid of that. That's what my adoptive parents taught me, that you share no matter what you have. And they say in life, kindness is one of those things that you can never give away because it keeps coming back to you. And I believe all those little things, if we embrace it, if we give a smile, if we say a kindly word, if we wait around to find out how someone is, I believe it comes back to you in so many ways. And if it doesn't come back to you directly, it could come back to your kids, come back to your extended family. And so for me, my upbringing was really important. It's a foundation stone for who I am. And, I maintain and hold fast all those values that I picked up from those days.
Yeah, love that. I think that kindness message is so important too. From a resilience point of view, then, when you look at all those experiences back in the day to how they come across now, how important would you say resilience has ranked for you over the years?
There's going to be so many things that hit you. When you lose someone, and all of us, if we're not suffering loss now, we haven't recently, we will. That's the circle of life. We will. And when you lose someone dear to you, like I lost my granddaughter 2 years ago now, 18 months ago. She was only 12. That kind of knocks you knocks you to the side, because the rule of that circle is that I go first, not your grandchild. Right? So that kind of knocks you. So that resilience, You've got to be, because there was a point at which where the oxygen was taking out my body and I almost went like this. And they said to me, the doctor said to me, if I wasn't fit, I wouldn't be here today. But then on top of that, right, there's so many other things that hit us as we go along life's road. There's so much negativity out there. And I had to learn earlier on that I need to declutter often from my life. And everyone listening now, I say to you, decluttering is critical. Let me clarify what that means. It's not just getting rid of the clothes you don't wear, and we all should, because we've all got a wardrobe full of things that we're never going to wear, never will. We held on to it for years, and all it does, it clutters up your life. That's number one. But also sometimes you have to declutter from people, because there's so much negativity around that if you let them in, they take away the very resilience that you need. So if I have friends who have a problem, don't come to my home. I'll meet you down the road. I'll go for a meal with you. I'll go for the pub with you, because when I get back home, I want to make sure I can put my feet up and go, whew, that was an experience. But you know what it's like. There are people in your lives, right, who are there like vacuum cleaners. They suck out the oxygen out of the room. I only want around me people who generate, people who make me feel good, people who are there to say, listen, I know it's rough, but guess what? It'll be better tomorrow. Right? And those are the kind of people I want, because all too often you get people who, when you've made it, they go, yeah, you were great. You're brilliant. No. I want the encouragement when I'm going along, because that's when it's raining, right? And if you want a rainbow, you've got to go through a little bit of rain. And I've gone through lots and lots of rain. So my resilience is up there. Throw it at me. Don't matter. I can handle anything you throw at me.
Love that. Okay, fair play. I can tell straight away. I mean, the energy is insane from coming off you. It really is. I think from just listening to you talk just for a few minutes now, I think people can't help but feel inspired, to be perfectly honest. And, you know, I feel really privileged to have this opportunity to chat to you, Derrick, you know, for what the messages that you're putting out. For someone like who has been, you know, doing this for so long and inspiring people to stay motivated and stay healthy, you know, I think that what you say is incredible, but what you actually do, what more is there that you actually do to help people? What have you done over the years to keep people that you are around, that circle of trust of people that you're with, to keep them on that straight and narrow and keep them in the zone that you'd like them to be in?
You know, all we can do with our lives, Gareth, is to be an example. You can't force anyone to be a particular way. You can't force someone to say they must follow a particular course or a route, because what works for me is for me. And what do they say? One man's meat is another man's poison. And just because I've found things that work for me, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work for you. But what can I do? I can set an example. I can say, listen, if this is going in my life, or this is happening in my life, this is what I do. And that's based on those experiences I've had over the years. And I think when you're 70 years of age, if you spend 10 years in a university, it means I've been to 7 universities. Now, you can't buy that kind of tuition. You can't read it in a textbook. It comes from experiences. And I'm saying, anyone listening now, they've got a multitude of things that they could actually be influential with the people around them. They've got so much knowledge that they can pass on to people, so much experiences. Share those experiences. And don't ever say that you're too small to be inspiration. You're too small to be able to help anybody. Wrong. Because every single one of us lives can be inspirational to someone else.
Yeah, totally hear that. Totally. Are there any secrets or any things that you've done over the years to keep people fit and healthy from a physical sense and a mental sense? And also, just to add, in addition to that, what is more important in terms of being healthy? Is it the mental side of things or is it the physical? How do you rank those two?
Okay. I mean, that's a very big question, but I'll tell you this. The physical is important, but the mental is even more important. You know, there was a study done many years ago where they had 2 teams. One team practiced visualizing shooting a basket. Just visualized it. The other team practiced for 2 weeks shooting it. And when they actually had a day of competition, the difference between both was negligible. What does that tell you? It tells you that if you're mentally prepared up here to do the journey, to conquer that difficulty you have, to be on top of anything that's bad in your life, if you want to conquer that pain that you're having, if you want to actually just strive for success and get there, you've got to be mentally prepared to do it. My wife lost 60 pounds in weight this year. She'd been trying for years, through the menopause, the whole lot, couldn't do it. But this year was particularly important for her because she sat down and she said, you know what? I realize I've been neglecting me. I realized that I've been looking after everybody else, right? I've forgotten about me. So from now on, my mental space is going to be my focus. I want my mental space to be positive. I want it to have a goal. I want to actually work towards my goal. I want to actually blank out all the negativity to the side and all the people who distract me negatively, and I'm going to focus on me. Mental approach. The runner, a 100-meter runner, will tell you that he knows whether he's going to win that race before he's even started, purely because of his mental preparation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When it comes to the secrets to longevity, having that attitude over time, you've had it from a very early point in your life. But for some people, it may have come to them later on. It may have come to them maybe now, perhaps. For me, I would say, using my own personal sort of like experience within this, I'd say it's probably over the last 10 years. I think things were quite sort of formulaic and regular in terms of my life before sort of, this phase of adulthood for me. But for anyone who wants to sort of like keep the longevity going with it, are there any tips or any things that you could recommend maybe that would keep people thinking that way over time and keep that consistency up? Because I think consistency in terms of fitness is so difficult to maintain, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Listen, consistency, regularity is so critical. I mean, I train every single day. I mean, I'd get up early morning. We do a 6:30, 30-minute free class on Zoom, right, on Instagram. And why do I do it? Because I'm inviting you in to come and train with me. That gives me purpose. If it was just me alone getting up to train, then it's hard work. The most important thing if you want longevity is, I believe, that you don't try and do it alone. They say if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far and long, you got to go with someone. And that's why having Palmer behind me is so important. But then equally, all the other people in my life who actually contribute to my well-being journey are important. All my motivators are important. All the stuff I do is really important. When I go on stage at these music festivals where there's 15,000 people, I have a team of people all on stage with me. So I believe that all of us, right, if we want to strive and go forward, no matter what age you are, you've got to develop a circle of friends. And if you're in a relationship with someone right now, right, no matter how long it's been, you have got to extend that relationship outside of the two of you. Because if you don't, when that circle of life hits, you're on your own. And when you're on your own, it's very difficult to mentally pick yourself up and go, you know what, I'm going to keep going because my other half would have loved it. It's real tough. But if you've developed a circle of friends around you, that is your support mechanism. And those friends can be just being on here, for example, could be part of your social circle, right? Just making contact with a local dance team, or going for walks in a walking group, or going to a reading group, or, whatever. Form a circle which is much larger than the two of you. And that gives you the support mechanism when you feel, I can't go on. I want to quit, right? I want to get out. I want to give up on everything. That's what I believe you've got to do. But be consistent, make it regular. Don't make it once a week. That's no good. Don't make it once a month. That's no good. It needs to be regular.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice. Do you ever find it hard to stay on track? Have there ever been points in your life where you thought, I'm really struggling here. I need to do something. I can't break out of a bad habit. Or is there anything where over time you've struggled and you've had to deal with things like that?
You know what? All the struggles happened much earlier on. All my struggles were during the day when I had to walk miles, right, to either take my child to a childminder. All the struggles was when I had to jump on the 266 bus from Willesden down to Harlesden onto another bus to go out to walk around to work. Those were the struggles. But what did they do to me? They made me understand people a lot better. They made me understand that all of us, every single one of us, even if you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, will have to struggle. Because you're either going to struggle with the fact that you don't know how to operate without what you have, or you're going to struggle desperately trying to get what you should have. And I believe that I've learned so much from my life, right, in terms of where I've been and where I continue to grow. And every day I learn something new, either about human behavior or some way I should be more considerate, right? But I thank every single person who every single day send me wonderful messages about just the word of encouragement. You give them a word of encouragement, they feel better, right? When I go on the Saga ships, I mean, my classes starts at 9:30. At 8:30, people are queuing up to get in. We use the biggest room on ship, and we have everybody in a chair, and we have laughter, we have fun, and we leave with people, I can't get away. People leave feeling good about themselves. We start with 80% sitting down. And it's the other way around. At the end of a 2-week cruise, we've got 80% standing up. We've had a situation where, a lady comes in, she says, "Oh, Mr. Motivator." In fact, she had to be carried in, but I had all the, in my femur, the bones had cancer. They put titanium in there and they told me I'll never ever walk again. We got her up. And she cried her eyes out at the end of 2 weeks when she got up, and there she was, able to actually move like this without a walker. That's what I believe my purpose is, and that's what keeps me motivated. My purpose is to try and help people to have an independent life as they get older. Because your independence is critical for you. It's critical, and that comes from you being active. You see the way I'm sitting up? I'm sitting up straight. That's what you got to do. That is not the world. This is what you could be doing, and everyone can do that. And I believe I can help them to achieve that.
Undoubtedly so. Just actually adjusting my posture now as I ask you the next question. It's true though. You're right in the sense that you sit up, you start. The little things can make a big difference, can't they, over time? And that story you just told then, I mean, that is absolutely inspirational. It really is. And the effect that you have on people like that is quite evident by everything you've done over the years and in your experiences as a fitness guru, if you like. I hope you don't mind me calling you that, but that's what you are effectively, and that's what people know you as. So in recent times, Derrick, you've had, I would say, you've had a second coming, if you like, a resurgence, a bounce in popularity. The newer generation, if you like, of TV watchers and social media fans that have got to know you. How would you sort of describe the new following that you have, and how do they take to you?
It's quite interesting, because when you're not on breakfast television, everyone thinks you've died and gone to heaven, right? But the thing is, my world was actually busier when I left television because I was doing lots of keynote speaking. I was traveling all over, literally over the world, doing demonstrations on fitness, doing music festivals. I do music festivals, about 12 each year, where you'll get 10 to 25,000 people in front of that main stage moving. We don't call it fitness, we call it movement to music. So I was always doing that. But and I came back to television in dribs and jabs, but I went away from television because I felt the quality wasn't there, number one. And number two, it didn't allow me to do anything more than the entertainment that I brought to fitness. And I wanted people to get into my head. I wanted people to understand exactly what was going on here, that there was a deeper side to well-being. It wasn't just about the physical. It was about getting all those pillars right together, your emotional, your mental fitness, getting it all together so it supports you. And so by going away, it allowed me to actually develop that side of things. And so I was being requested to do all kinds of stuff. I worked with the government on the health of the nation, and so it went on. But but that was always my drive. And so here we are 30 years later, and I maintain that this new audience I've picked up has come about because of social. Because social is now the new TV. You don't need morning television. You don't need GMB. You don't need those. In fact, this is it. This is the medium. And people can go, you know what? I want to watch Motivator having a chat. I want to watch him doing some fitness. So this medium, I'm embracing it. And what it means is now, kids, oh my Lord, I've got a project which we set up in Ireland. 20,000 children are getting a thing called Daily Dozen with Mr. Motivator, 12 minutes of exercise. We've got a new one we're launching here called Gimme 5. And what it is, I believe that, forget PE. Most of us hated PE. How many kids do you know from your school went on to become an Olympic athlete? Very few. Yes, still, we all went through the same method of running across a field in the dead of winter with shorts that didn't cover the bits that you needed covering, and you were freezing everything off when you got to the other end, and you hated it. So I believe that what should happen is the teacher's teaching maths. The kids are falling asleep. So he goes, okay, everybody, give me 5. Puts on one of my videos. For 5 minutes, we're going to moving. Maybe it's running on the spot, stride jumps. After all, when you're driving down the motorway and you feel tired, what do? You pull in, service station, you walk around the car, you get yourself a drink, you feel good, you go back in the car, you're fine. Same thing should happen in school. You want the attention of the kids, you either do something before they go into a lesson, or you do it during the lesson. That's what I believe. So we're filming this next week, I think it is, and that's going to be available to all schools because I want them to have it almost for free so that we can get the kids fitter as they go forward in life.
Love that. Sounds great. There's so many questions coming in. I'm going to get to them in a moment. I just wanted to ask you, Derrick, before we get to the audience questions, about looking back on your long career in this industry, your long career with motivation, and wellness as well. We talked about wellness before we started the live here now. For you over the years, what's been the most standout moment for you, if there is one, or any event that you've done which has really stood out the most for you in your career? And then looking forward, what would you like to go on and achieve? And you mentioned a little bit about it there with inspiring the next generation.
I've met some wonderful stars, because what used to happen at GMTV, every star that came in wanted to work out with me. Name it. I mean, I've got a book they used to sign. Stefan Grappelli wrote in there, I thought about working out with Motivator, but it was music to my ears. There were all those kind of comments written in this wonderful book I've got from all these stars. So I could say, well, I want to meet them. But was that rewarding? No, it wasn't. What was rewarding, there were a number of things. One is I was asked to do a video for the MS Society, and I didn't, for the trust. And I didn't know much about MS, so I had to research it. And I ended up in a room with 40 people who were auditioned to be on the video, and I saw different stages of MS. And it made me understand how I could have MS, and you don't know, and I don't know, right? I've done a lot of work with muscular dystrophy, right? And the joy of movement with them is incredible. I got given my MB last year by William. That was an outstanding thing for me, right? But honestly, it's what does my heart good. It's not when I do something for me, but it's when I do something which actually helps other people, whether it's just a bit of advice or they've caught me at the train station. They go, Motivator, could you help me? I'm in a wheelchair. What can I do? And I'm able to point them in the right direction. So going forward, I've joined with Saga, right, in being part of Spaces, because I really believe that the older age group needs my help and advice. And everyone listening right now, if you're not in the club, you need to join it. You need to join that club, because it's going to be good for you. It's going to be your partner, your buddy. It's going to be your friend. So it's going to give you things to do with well-being. You're eating well. Are you looking after yourself? Lots of talks, right? Exercising with me and my motivators. We filmed some stuff last week, which is great. It's lively and it's up-tempo and it's music and it's going to make you feel good. That's what I believe the future holds. And I've got lots of other projects I'm working on. I've got something I'm working on right now to do with bed poverty. 400,000 children tonight will go to sleep without a bed. That's a crime in this country. So I'm working on highlighting that and trying to find a solution for it, especially when we dump on the heap out there 7 million mattresses every year. Why can't we repurpose those mattresses so people in need can get it? That's my pet project at the moment. And I've got a number of other things I'm doing. But honestly, to be honest, just all you have to do is just follow me, follow what I do, and you'll be inspired, and it'll make me feel good as well.
Absolutely. I'm sure everyone will do as well. Derrick, thanks for now. But just let's crack on with some of these amazing questions from everybody. There's been some brilliant ones. I'll try and get through as many as possible. I would like to start with Steve's one first, which I think is really interesting, and it's got a lot of up likes. Steve wants to know, as we age, Derrick, do we change the way we exercise? What are the ideas really around how we should sort of flexibly think about changing the way we work out maybe when we get older? Sure.
Steve, listen, it's going to be a quick answer. Let me tell you this. During the years we've been on this earth, we're pounding away. So all the cushioning in between the joints and everything get worn down. If you don't change the way you exercise, eventually you end up with all kinds of pains from different positions. Weight training is one of the best things to do as you get older, because that's going to keep you upright. And it's not heavy weights, light weights, lots of repetition. Do it often, do it every day. And trust me, you will see the difference. And one little message to everyone who's getting older, who see their shoulders doing this. Imagine there's an orange between your shoulder blades and gently squeeze out the juice of that orange. Hold that posture. And every time you walk by a mirror, look at yourself and be proud of who you see.
Cool. Okay. Simple tips there. I like that. I think they're very inspirational. And in terms of inspiration, energy and positivity is infectious, according to Lee here, which it very much is. So what would your advice be, Derrick, in terms of staying positive and staying motivated in times of adversity?
We're not unique. None of us is really unique in respect of things that's going to hit us. We're all going to hit with things either now or later on, either loss or injury, or that's the circle of life. That's what's going to happen. But you have to get up every single day. And no matter how bad your position is, you've still got to count your blessings. Because no matter how bad it is in your world, there's always someone worse than you. And I'll always remember taking my daughter to the Child of Achievement Awards. And kids came in where they were wearing a bubble and wearing all this stuff just to stay alive. And every time my daughter had a cold, I'd be fussing. And it puts things in perspective. So no matter how bad our situation is, rest on the fact that other people are in a worse position than you and still get up and write down all your blessings. I can hear, I can see, I can talk. I got a choice in terms of what I eat. That's how you stay motivated.
Yeah, love that. Writing it down. Do you think that writing things down and noting things as you come across them helps? Is that something you've done over time?
All the while, every single thing. I'll be watching a film and in the middle of it, there'll be a little motivational statement that actually resonates with me and I go, blah, blah, blah. So I've started doing this thing. I've been writing down, I've learned that. And I've learned that every day you learn something. I mean, I've learned, for example, that if I'm sitting here with all these lights on me, I get hot and I start sweating.
Very true, very true. Jane's got a really good question, Derrick. What's the best advice you've received later in life?
You know what? It's so interesting. No one's ever given me any advice. I've had to seek it out as I go along, right? And often it's what you read. And I find that other people's life story really can be so inspirational. So I take comfort in the fact that if I read a story about someone who's been successful, what it does for me, it actually prepares me for things that may happen in my life. I've been very blessed. As I said to you, most of the bad happened when I was actually just growing up, up till age 40. After age 40, there's been mainly good times that's come along. And there's only been one little blot on the landscape. And that was when I lost my best friend for 60 years. I lost, in fact, two friends, 160, 150. And then I also lost my granddaughter. But apart from that, I still find reasons to be grateful and thankful every day.
Yeah, so condolences to you on that, actually. And I was going to maybe pick up about that if you're okay to
sure, talk about anything you like,
about how you coped in that sense, with the trauma of losing people close to you, particularly your granddaughter.
You know what? Let me answer that now. I didn't cope well. All the messages I give out now, I didn't listen to it. In fact, the first thing was my body broke down and I collapsed and everything went wrong. And I was really ill for a while, right, because of that. But then I realized what the problem was. Because everyone around me was crying, I had to be the big chief. I'm the male. I'm not going to cry. So when my daughter's bawling her eyes out, or she called me from outside the ICU unit, she's all the way in Antigua, and she's bawling and screaming at me, Dad, help. Help. Dad, what are you going to do? Dad, Dad, Dad. For 30 minutes this went on, right? Every time when she was growing up, if she had a cold, I was there to wipe her nose. And here's the one time she needed my help, I couldn't do it. But as a male, I felt really kind of helpless. And I didn't cry. Right? Every time I felt the tears coming, I'd stifle it back because I didn't want anybody else who was crying to not see me supporting them. The lesson I learned from this is this. Every single male out there, bawl your eyes out. Because until I sat down in this very room with my youngest daughter, who's 26, and my wife, and I said to them, you know what? I realized why I was ill, why I went down that road. It's because I was being strong for everybody else and not realizing that when I cry, that makes me stronger. I bawled my eyes out. And that was a point at which I felt so much better. So my message to every single man out there, and I have to say to men because women cry. Men cry. It's not a weakness. It's a strength. And when you do it, you will feel better for it, right? And that makes you so much more able to cope with what life throws at you.
Yeah, could not agree more. Could not agree more. Thank you for that. Thank you very much. So a great question from Gillian here, Derrick. You spoke at the top of the interview about this being the best period of your life, the best time of your life. What would you say it is that makes life so good at this point?
What I've learned, I remember I've gone back to that, I've learned that when you say to someone, how rich are you? They always think about money. But richness is everything else that money can't buy. It's that touch of the hand from someone you care about. It's that cup of tea that you have when you least expect it. It's that sandwich. It's that someone walking up to you and putting a hand on your shoulder and saying, you know what, you're right, kid. It's that message you get when you least expect it that says to you that, you know what, thank you. Thank you. That is what I think it's all about. And so for me, I've learned that my richness comes from not what money can buy, but everything that money can't buy.
So it's the gratitude aspect, would you say, then, the almost the after effects really of what you put out into the universe?
Yeah, it comes back to you so many ways. Honestly, I've seen it. And I said earlier on, listen, work hard, be considerate, be kind, and amazing things will happen to you. Amazing things have happened to me. I mean, listen, I can remember one of my videos, we launched it in Vegas, and they closed the strip of Vegas. And there was me with thousands of people around doing a live transmission into GMTV at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? Come on, that journey, you can't plan it. You can't plan it. So listen, make a decision. Worry about the own outcome after you've made a decision. A lot of people sit here, they're afraid to make a decision, so they don't do it. No, get up, make the decision, get on with it, and realize and believe in your ability to always be able to swim, always be able to float, no matter what life throws at you.
Okay, I hear that loud and clear. Just going back to that Vegas trip, you must have, I mean, this is a bit of a tangent here, but like you must have been on some surreal experiences over the TV career. The Vegas one sounds like it's one of them. What other things have made you thought, hang on a minute, how did this happen?
I'll also remember GMTV wanted to do this thing called, it was a get up and give. It was to raise money for, there were some floods in India, and Steve Chalk, who's a dear friend of mine, runs a charity called Oasis. And we did this thing called Body and Soul. And it required me to actually mobilize the nation over a weekend to actually raise funds, holding parties and stuff like that. And what they lined up for me, I'd launch it from St. Paul's Cathedral right outside. So I did a workout on the step. There was a helicopter waiting for me, and that would take me to Scotland, right? In Scotland, there'd be loads of people out there, and I was dressed in a kilt, and we did a workout. Then on to Wales, got to Wales, same thing happened. Then flew over to Ireland. Everybody was there, and it was just mass, and we raised a load of money. I mean, come on, this is me, small little Derrick, right? All of a sudden, doing all that kind of stuff. Who could have thought it? Who would have thought it?
And related to that, was there ever an element of imposter syndrome that came in? Was there ever anything that you thought to yourself where, hang on a minute, like, I shouldn't be doing this?
No, far from it. You know what? I should have been doing this a long time ago. But I realized the reason why it didn't happen is because all those elements weren't ready to collide. And when they did, on the 23rd of August, 1993, when they did, that was my moment, right? So look, that was age 40 then. All of us, right? There is a moment when everything collides, when it comes together. It may not happen to when you're 70, but so what? Trust me, it will. The important thing to remember is this. Opportunity knocks at the door but once. Disappointment leans on the doorbell. So you've got to answer that knock when it happens. You've got to be listening out for it.
So true, so true. Related to that, this is a great question from Harriet. Do you believe in manifestation? Because she says, I feel like your positive energy and mindset is infectious and all set up for positivity. So manifestation, your thoughts on that?
Harriet, that is so deep. I don't know, Harriet, because I mean, you're taking me down a route that I don't know much about. I mean, I used to say to myself, well, who out in the big wide world could I take inspiration from? And I realized that I can take a bit from each person's life. So you go to Nelson Mandela, you go, no matter how bad his circumstances are, no matter what he went through, he still came out the other side. And what did he do? He still wanted to make people feel good. He still wanted to look after his people, right? Then you go to someone like Richard Branson, and you realize that in business, right, there's sometimes you have to take chances, really push the boat out, try what you can. And he did everything, right, to promote his brand. Now look where his brand is, right? And so you can go on with all these people. So I can take little bits of inspiration from all those people out there to basically engage with it and make it part of I've learned that.
There have been so many questions coming in, Derrick. We've got only time for one more, sadly. And I'm going to go for Lillian's one. She says, I'm 75, I'm scared of exercise. I think a lot of people can empathize with that. What advice would you give Lillian?
Lillian, trust me. You follow everything I do. You join Saga Spaces. You make sure, right, that you're going to the exercise. I'm doing exercise from a chair, right? The important thing is don't push yourself too hard. Start real gently. Build up as you go along, right? Remember, right, if you haven't done it in a while, the muscles need to respond. So give yourself time. You've got to stay injury-free. And the only way you're going to do that is to actually gently get into it. Don't be in a hurry. Make sure the doctor said it's okay, but do it with a smile. Put good music on. In fact, what you do right now, put the music on at the end of this and just have a good old dance. That's the beginning of a new you.
Love that. Love that. Derrick, thank you so much, and all for your questions as well, guys. Really, really appreciated. I could speak to you, Derrick, for hours. You've got so many nuggets of wisdom and great little stories that I think people are really inspired by. So have you enjoyed yourself? Do you enjoy it today?
I love it, and we must do it again because, hey, listen, 70 years on this earth, remember, loads to talk about.
Derrick, thank you so much for your time. It's been a privilege and an honor to speak to you. And thanks to you as well, our wonderful audience, for participating in this afternoon session. Our next talk here on Saga Spaces will be on the 22nd of August with ITV This Morning's resident doctor, Dr. Zoe Williams. So do not miss that one. But from us here, and we'll see you next time here on Saga Spaces, take care and have a great day.